25 years ago, I founded Pure Romance with a dream that as Pure Romance grew, I'm looking forward to this conversation tonight. I'm so excited to introduce tonight's group of sexual health experts. Aren't they pretty? Let's start with Dr. Kathleen Novick, Dr. Somi Javid, OB/GYN, sexual medicine. Dr. Courtney Plattner, UC Health, but not least, Laura Presley, sex therapist at Emma Schmidt. I just want you to know I'm very thankful and grateful to have you here sharing with us tonight. So, on pelvic pain, what about if this was a male? How does a female adjust to the male's pain?
Obviously, men and women have different anatomy.
What is something that suffering partners does not typically realize about what the other is dealing with, and vice versa? What's your advice on that? Health complaints that you see in women.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. Here's a round for Patty for Sexual Health Matters. I'm a firm believer it is time to advocate, empower, and educate. Okay, so now's the time.
Question is, what's the number one reason?
Yes, the number one reason that we see in the practice.
I'm going to tell you, we could said, give her a big round. Okay, we're going to bring a mic to you.
I was just wondering, what causes that pelvic pain?
Asking me?
Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry.
From a physical therapy aspect, we are looking at the physical causes, not necessarily the medical causes.
And making sure it's not too thin. It's hormonal. It's neurologic. Sometimes there's that condition I told you about where the vaginal muscles just contract up. Endometriosis, which is a chronic GYN condition, ovarian cysts, fibroids, tumors. So there's so many things because it depends on where the sexual pain is. Is it in the vagina? Is it outside in the labia? Is it right at the opening, which is called the introitus? Or is it in the belly? And I will tell you, women come in and I even bring them a model because we don't know our own parts. And they're like, well, my vagina hurts. I'm like, well, that's not your vagina, but just show me, point to where it hurts. So it just depends. You know, it could be a multitude of conditions. And if I can't find the reason.
How we are combating the gender disparity with the FDA right now? Is there anything happening?
Yeah, education, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So you talked about advocating and education. A lot of times we have to pull information out from our clients in the bedrooms to talk about what they're interested in. Have they ever thought about a bedroom necessity before, right? So how forthcoming are they coming to their gynecologist talking about their sexual issues? Do you kind of have to pull that information out, or is it still a stigma to still talk to your doctor? And I know as consultants, we will encourage that to talk to their doctors and talk to their, physicians and us for the things and items that they need.
Our patients call our office the rabbit hole.
The other question that's usually on there is, are you sexually active? What does that usually mean? You're married or you're not? I mean, that's just a very general question, and for some women, they don't know how to answer that. They don't know how to bring that forth. So I love that idea of putting all that information on there.
Right.
I did have another question. So I work for a pharmacy, and I seen a prescription come through for testosterone. For I think 1% applied to their clitoris. So we have enhancement creams. So how different is that from some of our enhancement creams? Is that a stronger amount, and do women come forth and are willing to get those filled at the pharmacy?
Urology that we're really looking at is selective androgen receptor modulators, SARMs, for pelvic floor and incontinence issues, because we have a ton of muscles that atrophy, and Androgen is, testosterone works on androgen receptors, and it's helping bulk up the pelvic muscles for incontinence and things like that, but also pain and libido and all those other things. So it's in the pipelines in the urology world as well.
That's awesome.
Hello. So we know that different medications can cause a decline in sex drive. So mood-altering drugs, birth control, that's the number one thing that I hear from my clients as a pure romance consultant is, I went on this birth control and now I have no sex drive. So are there some safe alternatives that I could recommend that my clients talk to their doctors about?
So I try to get all my patients, if they are,
See the men in here going, what did I come to?
I wanted to add a little bit just to that. When I think about the birth control piece, I think we don't have conversation. So some of what we do is just some like education.
This was a thing until tonight. Crazy, I know. So as a consultant, for consultants, and I know that, and this is the sad part of it, is a lot of the times we will have ladies, because we build relationships, that will open up about sexual abuse.
Yes.
Is sex therapy something that they may want to look at?
Yeah, absolutely. And so we have different, so there's different folks in the practice who really have a background and that's their specialty.
Here.
I have a client who has MS, and she actually lost the sensation in her vagina. So when she has sex with her husband, she can't feel anything. Is there anything out there that she can get to get that sensation back?
that is a tough one. I don't know of anything other than PRP out to San Diego, but it would be more of a research. There's no mainstream therapy that I know of that's available.
Other thing, sometimes for my spinal cord patients who don't have sensation, we do vibration. And so a really fast vibrator sometimes can not necessarily, they don't necessarily feel it, but the brain gets stimulated in that right way, and they will orgasm. So that's, I don't know enough about MS and how to do this to recommend it, but for our spinal injury patients, that's one way that we can get them some sensation.
I would also just to other things, well, at least in the therapy world, we don't necessarily know the interventions, but there could be a lot of grief work for her and her partner to sort of, I don't know when she'd find out about her diagnosis, but if they'd had a previous sex history or an intimacy history that they liked, they could be really feeling anger or frustration, or feel like, I don't know if I want to still be here if I can't receive pleasure, or if
Intimacy of being, chest to chest or on top of each other. I had this for an older couple, and he just missed that. And so actually one of the Pure Romance products.
My question is for Laura. How do I communicate with my partner that what he thinks is amazing and incredible is not necessarily that amazing and that incredible, but to do it in a way that does not hurt his ego or cause him to be upset?
yes, she got like a high five. Somebody's like, you are brave. Yes. I think there's lots of different ways to go about this. I will say, just like, first off, one of the things that I find helpful is that
I actually suffered a uterine prolapse, and at that time I did not even know what a uterine prolapse was. And my uterine prolapse was so sudden, and my whole muscle just ripped in half. I had to have an emergency hysterectomy and have all that, taken out. And I did suffer some bladder damage due to it. And so you were speaking about the incontinence and the pubic floor and everything. And I was just wondering, is there going to be anything in the end that's going to help with my incontinence? And also, is that probably the major, I don't recall before having the uterine prolapse crawling away from my husband. And now there are times where I find myself
in so much pain that I'm trying to crawl away. And so, and really they just did the surgery and sent me on my way. And that was basically all I was told and given. I was told, everything's fine now, you've had surgery, and I left.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate thing. You know, a surgery like that is a pretty major surgery. You know, someone that had surgery on their knee that was
Out of Europe, that sex feels very different after a hysterectomy. So I want everyone to touch your nose, okay? That's what a cervix feels like, okay? And the cervix has 3 nerves that make sex feel really good. And when you lose your uterus and your cervix, touch your cheek. That's what vaginal tissue feels like. So you can see it's not as satisfying to either partner. I agree with the scar tissue. That's the difference with the way sex feels. And then I'm going to let you talk about the bladder.
In terms of incontinence, there's number one, it's really common. So you are not the only one, probably in this room, that has incontinence. So
So I think there's a portion of the population who understand how common sexually transmitted diseases are, and then there's another very large portion that do not understand that, and so obviously that creates a very negative stigma around sexually transmitted diseases. So my question is, how do you respond to a question on shame attached to sexually transmitted diseases, and after that, how do you communicate it during intimacy?
I was thinking about it. I agree. There is so much shame related to STDs, STIs, all of that. And
or gonorrhea or chlamydia or HPV. And they come in with their questions and they ask about, you know, how likely am I to get this? Are we just going to keep giving this back and forth? What can we do to stay healthy? And I think that's education is, you know, really empowering for people. So a lot of our female patients will bring their partners in. And I think it's very helpful to both parties because the fear disappears and is replaced with education and answers.
I just recently have come into contact with a few women who have the Muslim background, and they had their glans clitoris, you know, sorry to be vulgar, but it was cut off as young girls. And I'm curious to know, I heard you mention before about the vibration, you know, for the brain stimulation and things. Can I recommend that? Do they get any feeling down there? Like even, for instance, maybe through anal sex, because the way it, you know, 91% of women can orgasm through anal, can they feel that, or do they have no feeling whatsoever? Because I don't want to give the wrong information, you know, to them and things like that, because this is kind of all new to me. I didn't realize it was so vulgar for them.
They actually need an exam because, well, first of all, I want to clarify, it's not all Muslim background, right? Like there are people from different countries, it's definitely higher in certain percentages. But it depends on how much of the tissue was removed. Like they actually grade them, yeah.
You should also remember that just we were talking about earlier with orgasms, women can orgasm in a lot of different ways. So penetration, when they do have like genital mutilation, which is what it is, you don't take the whole clitoris out for one thing. You just take the hood, which is basically like the glans. Sure.
I have a girl on my team who met a woman who was born without a clitoris and did not know she was born without a clitoris until she was in an anatomy class. And at this point, she had already had a child and no one had pointed it out to her, which I don't know how you would point it out or have that conversation. I just wanted to put it out there because some of the doctors that she saw after that said, they did some sort of procedure. I don't know what it was, but they had never seen it before, that someone born with that, and they didn't know if that was because people aren't coming forward and saying it, or maybe they just don't know that they don't have a clitoris. So I didn't know if you'd ever heard of that before.
I've definitely seen congenital clitoral anomalies, and I've seen patients go upwards of, remember, we're in a big city. We have pure romance here. Like, I've seen women go to 7, 8, 9 gynecologists. You've got to remember that sometimes your internists or family practice, who they've done 3 subspecialties in 3 years, are trying to do them. And a lot of times, I mean, GYNs are guilty of just putting the speculum in and getting the pap smear done and running.
I was just going to ask, I know we have really great resources through PBF and some like on our pure romance training and things, but are there any other resources, online books or anything that you all would recommend for us to get some good knowledge from as far as what to bring to parties or just to know for ourselves as women?
I have a 9-year-old daughter, and I'm so completely afraid of when she like hits puberty and wants to start doing anything sexual oriented. Like, how good of an idea is it to suggest masturbation to her and possibly supply her with a pure romance product?
Oh, this makes me want to cry. You guys were amazing, and I'm going to tell you what, my heart is full, and thank you for giving back to women's sexual health. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out here tonight, and thank you for your continued willingness to learn and ask questions. And finally, I'm going to tell you what, I would like for my staff to come up front here because I want to thank them, because without them, tonight would not have been possible. If we have any of our, which we do, any of the Patty Brisbane Foundation board members in the room, please stand up because they deserve a big round as well. I'm so proud of all of these people that are in my life, so thank you so much. By the way, you were provided with note cards when you checked in tonight. We encourage you to use any of these for outstanding questions that you may have. I want you to write them down, and I want you to leave them at the registration table. Why? Because our experts have said that they would volunteer to answer those questions, and we will be placing them up online in about a week. Yeah, thank you. Now, each one of you will also receive a post-event survey to help us better provide for our events. So we need more input on topics and where we're going to be moving for the future. I need you to get your phones out because we are going to give you the next date. It is going to be on Thursday, January 17th at the new Riff Distillery. We'll be exploring again the conversation on how do we speak to our youth about sexual wellness. So I have a feeling after speaking with some of the doctors from Children's Hospital that we will be probably taking it in segments from birth to 5, and then 5 to puberty, and puberty on. So this is and let me tell you something, listen carefully. I encourage you to call your friends. I encourage you to call your relatives, your neighbors, and I encourage you to encourage them to bring their significant others. This should not be a conversation that is just about women talking to their kids. Both partners, both male and female, should be held accountable for speaking to our children. Don't forget, tonight, Pure Romance has a free gift bag for attending, and I want to also announce the winner of our raffle. Did you dig deep in there? Okay, no, we got it. Okay.
That's what.
Emily Pan, you've got it. Yes.
Wow.
I know you will put that to good use. And Emily's husband's with her tonight. Thank you, everyone who participated and supported the PBF, and thank you for supporting women's sexual health tonight. I need you to leave here tonight and don't stop the conversation. You need to pay this forward. Talk about this event, about tonight, and what you've learned. Again, I want to thank you and safe travels going home. The doctors are going to stay if anybody else has a few questions.